All right, guys, we're going to talk about colons. Colons are pretty simple punctuation marks that appear on the ACT, and you might as well get them right because they're really easy to do. All right. So, first rule here is a complete independent clause must always precede a colon. You must have an independent clause, then you can use a colon afterwards. You can't use it without an independent clause, okay? Here is one way where you can use that the ACT is going to assess the way you use colons, and that's to direct attention to a list or a formal quotation. So cookies have 4 common ingredients: flour, sugar, butter, and eggs. The colon introduces the list after a complete independent clause. Several seniors will be speaking at graduation: colon, Erica, Bill, Steve, and Joan. Another list introduced by a colon following an independent clause right here. And then you can say, the stirring words of John F. Kennedy's inaugural address have become immortalized. Independent clause. Now you have a colon, and now you actually introduce the quote. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. All right, so that's a real simple way. Notice that in each example, an independent clause comes before the colon. Word of the wise, guys, colons do not usually follow verbs. So you can't write, my friend says I should run for class president, treasurer, or secretary. That's just the verb. That's not an independent clause. It's weird. Colons also must follow a complete independent clause. I know I've said it a couple of times, but I want to emphasize this. You cannot use them without a complete independent clause. So here's an example of people. I see this all the time. I'm going to buy some milk. I'm going to buy some milk, flour, eggs, and soap. What? I'm going to buy some here is not an independent clause. So you cannot have this colon. That doesn't work. Neither of those examples work. Okay? All right. Here's another way that you can use colons. You can draw attention to a word, a phrase, or a clause that emphasizes a point made in the main part of the sentence. My low scores on the ACT test are a result of one thing, colon, poor preparation. See how that's emphasizing? I know that's not true about you, but there's an example. The student was missing one piece of vital information, colon, the day and time of the final exam. What follows the colon is the point being emphasized. All right. If you were to ask my mother what she remembers most vividly about my birth, she might tell you about the gift my father brought while I was still in the hospital, a soccer ball. So those are all proper ways when you're introducing a word, phrase, or clause that emphasize a point made in the main part of the sentence. You can also use colons to separate two complete sentences, independent clauses. This is very, very, very rare. All right, but it can happen. So faith is love. It cannot be forced. This is used really most of the time that either independent clause is going to be really short. Okay, really, really short and impactful. Okay, here's a tip. There can only be one colon per sentence. All right, only one. So you can either use a sentence, colon, have a sentence, colon, a list, a sentence, colon, quote, or a sentence, colon, emphasis. And that's it about colons.